You could use a couple $100 a month, right? A few $1,000s a year? Maybe some extra help with your property taxes. What do you need? There's $58 billion out there that goes unclaimed every year. They just changed the number. The National Council on Aging said it was about 30 billion last year. They redid the analysis, and now they're saying it's actually 58 billion. There are just way too many people not getting the benefits they're eligible for. Our community is trying to reach out to as many people as possible to get those benefits to them. A lot of the problem is simple. People don't know about it. They're too ashamed to apply. They don't know how to apply. And the places you apply are all different depending on the state. They make it difficult. They put up all these barriers. A lot of them will tell you, oh, we help our people, but people just don't apply. And when they do apply, the paperwork gets lost. Oh, you forgot to fill out this form too, and that one. So we're going to do everything we possibly can to make sure you get your benefits. Let's start with the one I talk about until I'm blue in the face, the Medicare Savings Program. Millions and millions of people are eligible for this, and they never go get it. Yes, it's a nightmare to apply. You have to jump through a bunch of hoops, but you'll save, at the very least, $202.90 a month. How do I know that number so precisely? Because that's exactly what it saves. You apply through your state's Medicaid office. Every state calls it something different, but it's all Medicaid underneath. If you get into Medicaid, and specifically into the higher levels of Medicaid, the state will pay your Medicare Part B premium for you. So if you or someone you know is having a hard time and needs a couple $100 extra in the bank every month, apply for Medicaid. Millions of people qualify and never do. We've probably helped find hundreds of millions of dollars in benefits for people over time. We thought we were making a dent in it. Then the National Council on Aging comes along and says, actually, it's not 30 billion unclaimed, it's 58 billion. So apparently we've got even more work to do. Get your friends, get your family, get informed. We're building resources to help you, especially now, because the so-called Big Beautiful Bill is cutting close to $1 trillion out of Medicaid. That means states are going to make it even harder to apply and qualify going forward. And here's the thing. Once you get that 20290, a whole bunch of other doors start to open. You might become what's called dual eligible. You might qualify for one of those grocery benefit cards. Those get advertised in a pretty scammy-looking way, but they're actually real. There's also help with prescriptions. This is where stacking comes in. I talk about stacking a lot, and here's what I mean. You get your Social Security retirement or disability benefit, then maybe a spousal benefit, or a divorced spouse benefit, or a surviving spouse benefit layered on top. Then Medicare. Then, if you qualify, Medicaid alongside Medicare. Then the Medicare Savings Program, which covers that 20290. On top of that, there's prescription help through the Social Security Administration called LIS, Low Income Subsidy, also known as Extra Help. You might also qualify for a state pharmacy assistance card, and if you have Medicaid, you may not have to pay for medications at all. Add food stamps. Add getting on the waiting list for Section 8 housing, and that's just the federal layer. States add their own programs on top. Take Pennsylvania, for example. There's a political action piece, information for reaching your senators, your representatives, your governor, so you can say, hey, protect this program, protect that one. There are call scripts too, but the advice is don't just read someone else's script. Make it personal. Say something like, if Social Security gets cut 22%, here's what I'll have to sacrifice. I could end up homeless. I won't be able to afford my medication. Pennsylvania also has a property tax rebate that went from $380 up to $1,000, depending on who qualifies. There's the PACE program, low-cost or free public transportation for seniors, and heating and electrical assistance. Illinois has similar programs, a homestead exemption worth $5,000 for people 65 and older, a senior assessment freeze, a full property tax exemption for disabled veterans with a 70% disability rating, free transit for seniors, a real estate tax deferral program, and electrical assistance as well. Indiana has a homestead deduction and veterans benefits too. We're actually looking for volunteers to help maintain and update the resources for each state so people can get accurate, current information no matter where they live. Then there's SNAP, food assistance. Before I worked at Social Security, I actually worked at the Department of Social Services processing food stamp applications. So many people qualify and simply never apply. And states are making that process harder too, partly because of budget cuts elsewhere. Here's a tip. When you apply for Medicaid, ask if you also qualify for SNAP at the same time, since in most states, if not all, you can apply for both together. And don't stop there. Ask, what else do you administer? Electrical assistance? Transit passes for seniors? What else can you help me with while I'm on the phone? One caller, Margaret from Austin, Texas, asked whether someone approved for disability can also draw benefits based on a deceased spouse of 14 years. The answer is yes. This is called disabled widows' benefits. To qualify, you have to become disabled between the ages of 50 and 59. If you're 60 or older, you can't claim disabled widows' benefits specifically, but you may still be eligible for regular surviving spouse benefits, depending on your benefit amount. Even while receiving disability, if you're also eligible for surviving spouse benefits, that amount gets added on top. It doesn't replace what you already have. You had to have been married to the person. Divorce doesn't disqualify you if the marriage lasted long enough, and you had to have become disabled within 7 years of your spouse's passing. If Social Security never checked this when you first filed for disability, it's worth calling back and asking directly. The general customer service rep on the phone likely won't know the details. Ask specifically to speak with a Title II claims specialist, and ask them to confirm whether you were ever evaluated for disabled widows' benefits. If eligible, you'd receive 71.5% of your deceased spouse's full benefit amount, so it may end up being more than what you're currently receiving. Another caller asked about her 33-year-old son, who has Asperger's. He's high-functioning, graduated college, but struggles in job interviews and currently only earns minimum wage. She wanted to know if he might be entitled to disability benefits. Since it sounds like he hasn't built up much of a work history, he likely wouldn't qualify for SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, which is based on work credits. But he could still apply for SSI, Supplemental Security Income, which is a needs-based program tied to low income and limited resources. He may also qualify for what's called DAC, Disabled Adult Child Benefits, based on a parent's record if a parent is currently receiving Social Security retirement or disability benefits or has passed away. One important detail: when he applies for SSI, make sure the disability determination is officially set as having begun before age 22. That establishes the record early so that years down the road, whenever a parent files for their own benefits, he'll already have documented proof that his disability began before 22, which is required to qualify for disabled adult child benefits later on. A third caller mentioned that her Medicare Advantage plan is calling her tomorrow to set up a new plan, since her current doctor and hospital are dropping out of network. Here's how to prepare for that call. Have your current plan information ready in case you want to compare it. Make a list of the providers you want to keep, doctors, clinics, hospitals, going forward. List your prescriptions, including exact dosage and form, since sometimes a tablet can cost 3 times more than a gel version, or vice versa. If you want to use a specific pharmacy or prefer mail order, say so clearly. Think through your priorities. Do you need more vision coverage, dental, hearing, transportation? Compare hospital stay costs closely too, because 2 plans can look nearly identical on paper, while one charges far more per night in the hospital. Once you've made your choice, that same representative can usually help you going forward too, whether that's finding a new doctor later or dealing with a prior authorization denial. The bottom line with Medicare Advantage plans, you have to stay on top of them. Every insurance company involved is ultimately trying to protect its bottom line, so it's on you to advocate for yourself and keep pushing for what you're entitled to.